Oh my goodness. Called ELIZA. And ELIZA was a, where is this? ELIZA was a program to emulate, I don't know how you say that, I don't know if it's Rogerian or Rogerian, I don't know, but a psychotherapist. So I think psychotherapy was a big deal in the 60s, right? With Young and all those guys. Anyway, so, hello, I'm ELIZA. Hello. How are you today? I'm fine. How long have you been fine? About 15 minutes.
Should I know the question mark?
Deal. I was bad, but now I'm good. No. Okay, why? Okay, so he wrote this program, put it out on MIT, and basically, I'll show you kind of a little bit how this works. It was not a very tricky program. It was a couple thousand lines long. But it did this. You would type in responses, or you would type in stuff, and it would respond back. He did it to show that all this AI stuff in computer reasoning was an illusion. It backfired. And because this was on a mainframe system, and a lot of people, all the staff and everyone back at in addition to the professors, but the school staff, the registrars and all those people, they could access it, and I don't know why he sent it out to everyone to use it, but they did. They all thought it was real, and they started using this as a real thing, and as a real psychologist, which probably took their stock down a little bit. Anyway, when he noticed that this was going on, he decided that he'd better disable it. So he disabled it, and then everyone complained because he took away their free therapist. It turned out that had a big impact on his life and the way and his studies. So he ended up spending a lot. This is the way it was described to me from my professor. He ended up spending a lot of the rest of his career exploring and warning about the problems of humans, attributing to the machines intelligence and other anthropomorphic type properties that didn't really exist. Because he knew how he wrote this program, and it is not very complicated. In fact, as an undergrad in my AI class, we rewrote this.
It's worth noting that this was meant to simulate a specific type of psychologist.
Yes.
That had the stilted responses.
Exactly.
So
yes.
And how does that make you feel?
Yes.
Yes. So it had an extra layer of authenticity because of that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But you can map that to other domains. You could say there are other things where people do things.
Yeah, I just meant it as an explanation for why people fell for it.
Exactly. I agree. All right, so we're going to use a similar thing for ELIZA, as ELIZA. Ours is tech support. So we've got a couple versions of this. We'll start with the simple one. I've already compiled it, so I'll just run it. So it says, welcome to the DodgySoft technical support system. Some of you guys have probably talked to these guys. Please tell us about your problem and we'll assist you with any problem you might have. All right, it's technical support, so my computer's not working. My computer is broken. That sounds interesting. Tell me more. It broke when
I can't find the any key.
Coffee on it. It started smoking. Is that okay? So
It's on fire now.
basically, they're not being that helpful. And it says type bye to exit. Okay, bye. Nice talking to you. Okay, thank you. So, So what does this support system look like? Well, we have two variables, input reader and responder, and those are other classes. We'll look at that in a second. My support system constructor creates a reader and a responder to fill in those member variables. And then there's a start method. The start method has a boolean that says, am I done? Finished. Starts with false. Prints the welcome message, which we'll see in a second. While not finished, get the input. So we call our reader. Notice reader was up here as our input reader. So we ask the reader to get input. If the input starts with by, then we set finish to true. Otherwise, we get a response from the responder, and we print out the response. When the while loop finishes, we print goodbye. So the welcome and goodbye are right here. The welcome message and the goodbye message. Now, some of you with the sharp eye will already notice there's a major problem here on this line.
Yeah, how can you respond to something if you don't know what it is?
Yeah, notice when we call generate response, we don't tell it what the user typed in. So that will be a little bit problematic. As I said, you guys have probably talked with these people before. So,
Doesn't take input from user?
yeah. All right, and we're gonna look at this a little bit more in a bit, but what I wanted to point out to start with is this here. What's this? It starts with by. Input is a string, starts with is a method. So let's go back to our So, here's our main loop structure. While we're not finished, do something. If we hit the exit condition, then we're done. Otherwise, we do something. So, our main loop body, as we just saw, is get input, respond, or get a response and print it out. So, reader to get input. Input starts with by. So, where does starts with come from? Well, it comes from the string class. Now we go back out here. Now, chances are you guys have already been here. I would like the full frames. Trying to figure out how we get back to that. There we go. Okay, so this is, who has not been to this website? Okay, you all have. You probably were like looking for the collections. All right, so notice I said thousands of classes. These are them over here. I've been scrolling for a while. I'm up to the D's.
I'm about halfway in.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to string, which I could use the scroll bar right now.
Control that.
I don't know if control F would work. Probably would.
You could try it.
You're highlighting your point, thousands of classes.
Yes, that's right.
It was all intentional.
And I did not remember, I have not memorized all these. When I was a little kid, I wanted to read the dictionary so I could memorize all the words. I didn't get very far. I've not been tempted to go through this list. Just, take 10 a day and just memorize them. It hasn't been interesting. All right, so here's the string class. So we have some basic documentation about it. Then we have the fields. Okay. We have the fields in here. That in this class, there's only one. It's a case instance order. There are several constructors for string, and then the methods. One of the methods is starts with. Right here. And starts with does just what it says. Test to see if the string starts with that prefix. So back here, we said input, which is a string, starts with by. So if I went back to my program, now that I've seen that, I know I could say, help me please, and I'd say by not comparing just for the string file, it's checking to see if I start with it.
Now, is it specifically looking for the letters BYE? Or no space, nothing after that?
Right.
Like, what if you had a space and then BYE? Was it not gonna match then? Because B is in space.
Space, BYE.
There you go.
Okay. So it literally has to match the first
Yeah.
three characters.
And I don't need a space after that, so that one works. So yeah, it's just just a dumb character match.
Okay.
Okay. So this is a screenshot similar to what I've just been showing you. You really, this should not be far from your fingers, this website. This is where you're going to find a lot of the information that you need in order to do things. So, the documentation includes a name, a description, the constructors and methods. Basically, it's defining the interface of the class. That is what the class provides for you. It does not tell you private fields, the private methods, or even the source code for the methods. That's all the implementation. It doesn't provide that. And it doesn't need to. So, documentation starts with, it's pretty obvious. There's, as you saw, a bunch of methods. Here are some other common ones. Contains, ends with, contains is like a substring. Ends with is the analog of starts with. Index of tells me where I can find a string inside another string. Substring, index of is a character. Substring is where the substring is. Contains the boolean. To uppercase converts a string to uppercase.
Comparisons.
Trim removes white space at the front and the back. So like the by that you're talking about, if we wanted to not match that space, we would take the input and then we would trim it, take all the white space off. Strings are immutable. What that means is, when I had input equals my reader dot get input, that returned my string. Now if I wanted to trim that, if I just say input.trim, that will remove the white space from almost. What input.trim does is it returns a new string that's a copy of input with the white space on the front and back removed. So if I just had this statement, it would do nothing. It would return the value and I never actually copied it or never captured it. So what I would need to do is say, like clean string equals input.trim. I am allowed to say input.
Yeah, it'll say, can you do input?
Yeah, equals input.trim. That's allowed because it will call the trim method on input, it will make a new string, and it will pass that string back, and then the assignment operator will change this reference. So you'll lose that one at that point, but it's safe to do that.
You could do dot forwarding as well.
Yeah.
You should say if something dot trim dot to uppercase dot equals.
Yeah, you can chain this together too, right? You can do the chaining. But the point is strings are immutable. They're not in a change of place. Okay, classes are organized into packages. You use the import statement. You don't need to do the import of Java lang, Java util array list, Java. You've seen this. Import Java util star will import all the classes in the util package. So one of the questions people often ask is, I don't have to list each one separately. Instead of java.util.arraylist and import java.util.linklist and import java.util.random, and I don't have to do that. I can just say java.util.star. Yes, you can just do that. It does not make your code too big. So in C++, if you just did #include everything, then you get a gigantic program. But in Java, it's not the same thing. If you do import java.util.linklist and you never use a linked list, it doesn't make your program any bigger. It doesn't automatically include a linked list in your code just for fun. But there is a downside to using a star. Yes. The downside to using a star is it pollutes your namespace. Because when I use java.util.star, everything in that package now becomes something I can access just by its name, like array list. And so if there were classes in there in a package that had a more generic name, and I wanted to use that name, now I have a name conflict. And I have to use what's called a fully qualified name in order to access those classes, which means I have to do a lot more typing. So it's not going to hurt anything. It's just a bad practice to do star.
Will you grade us down on it?
Probably not right away, but not the first time around, but probably for future assignments. It really is a bad practice. You will end up getting yourself into trouble, or other people in trouble if they try and compile your code and theirs together, because you don't. It's kind of like camping, right? You want to have the least impact to your environment as possible. And so using java.util.star is like when you go camping at a state park, and so you clear out all the trees and bushes in the whole park so that you can have your tent in the middle. So instead, you just clear out the spot you need, and that's what you use. Yeah.
So with deciding to import java.util.star, there's going to be probably a lot of classes in there that contain the method called get, for instance, or any other thing that shares them. How does it keep them separated based on the type of the thing that you're asking to get?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So it'll be like, this is a tree map. I should use the tree map version.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so importation does not involve source code insertion. Okay, there's another class that you haven't necessarily seen yet, random. So the library class random, java.util.random, generates random numbers. It's kind of nice, handy. So, for example, I can say, well, in order to do this, I make an object, a random object, not just any old random object. I make an object of a random class. I'll call it rand, and then I just say num is rand next int. So it gives me the next integer in a random sequence. Okay.
Don't you need to seed that first?
It automatically seeds in the constructor for the random. So if I say new random, I'm going to call the constructor for random. It's going to seed it, and I believe the documentation will tell you, but I believe it just seeds it to like current time in milliseconds or something like that. If you don't want a random seed or a seed based off the current time, you can pass a seed as an argument here, and then it will use that. But this is the most common case, right, which is I just want a random number and I don't want to worry about seeding it.
I've used it with system.time.milliseconds. I didn't know it would default
Yeah.
to that.
It will automatically do it for you. Okay. This just gives you the next int. You can say next int with a limit. This will give you, I think this is 0 to 100, including 0, not including 100, I think. The documentation will tell you for sure. I'm pretty sure because of this. So if I want to find an random index in an array, I can say list.size, or not an array, a collection. I can say list.size, that's the number of elements in my list. I want a random number between 0 and that, not including that. And that would be my random index. All right, so let's go back to our AI program. We saw that it wasn't doing that much. Let's go look at our reader. The reader has a scanner as a private variable. It sets it up in the constructor, and for get input, it just prints out a prompt, reads the input, and returns it. That's pretty simple. I'm not sure what else we would do to make that better. Let's look at our responder. Our responder has no data, constructor doesn't do anything, and generate response returns the same string every time.
Not very helpful.
So not very helpful.
Very realistic.
Very realistic, not very helpful. But this is why we were getting the response to review, because it actually didn't do anything. So let's actually try something else. Tech support 2. I had already prepared the other one ahead of time, and I was almost going to do it here, and I said, well, you know what, I'll just show you guys how to do it. So, because you guys might want to look at the book code. Here's all the Java files. There's no main. For whatever reason, these Java files, they don't provide a main. They want you to open it in BlueJ, and BlueJ just kind of provides a main. So you have to provide a main. If you notice, I did that in the previous directory with a file called test support system. I'm just going to copy that over. Oops. So this class is very simple, and it has public static void main. I create an instance of the support system, and I call start. That's all there is to it. Okay. Java C star.java. Everything compiles, and now I have the test support system class. So I'm going to Java test support system. All right. Welcome to DocuSoft Technical Support System. Please tell us about your problem. We will assist you with any problem I have. Please type I to exit our system. Okay. I broke my. So, no other customers complained on this before. What is your system configuration? Oh, I have Windows 98. I had to check it. Oh, no. What would that look like? It's a known problem with Vista. Windows 7 is much better. Oh, I have Windows 98. You already asked me that. And that too. The description is a bit wishy-washy. We've got an expert there who described this more precisely. Okay, so.
Okay, expert date.
So these guys, this one's a little more responsive. And it seems to be doing a better job answering my questions, but
Only slightly.
only slightly. All right, so let's explore this one. So the support system Java file. Whoops. We don't have that. Have input reader responder and make those things. This is really not any different. Input reader is not any different, I can already tell you, so we're just going to go straight to responder. All right, the responder has some data now. It has a random generator and an array list string of responses. Down here, my random generator, I create my new random generator object. Up here, I just define the reference or declare the reference. Down here, I actually create it. Here, I create an array list, my array list of responses, and then I call fill responses. What does that look like? Fill responses is pretty straightforward. I just add, these are all the responses that I know.
It's not a bug, it's a feature.
Yes, it's not a bug, it's a feature. Yes, one of my favorite. So these are all the responses that I know. I put these all into the responses array list. All right, now real quick, support system of Java still has a problem on this line. I'm still not sending input. So what does my generate response do? I basically randomly pick one. So I randomly pick a response out, so I know responses.size, however many elements are there, and then I get that value out and then return it. I did want to point out something interesting here. If I wanted to add new responses, where do I have to change the code?
Field responses.
In fill responses, where else?
So where?
Nowhere. And that's a really good thing. I don't have a count somewhere else that tells me how many responses I have, or any other data. I have this is set up in such a way that I just need to add new responses here, and the rest of my program just works as good as it does. So this is, again, something you should always strive for, is that you don't have a lot of interdependence of things all throughout your code, but you can make changes preferably in one spot, and everything else still works. All right, back to PowerPoint. So now our responder, the constructor is what we saw, fill responses, and generate response just takes a random response, which almost makes it work better. So we have the array list. I'm not going to go over array lists anymore because you guys have already kind of seen that a lot. So, more sophisticated behavior, more sophisticated behavior. We're going to look at sets and maps now. Using sets. There's a couple common ones, hash set and tree set. And a set is a collection of unique